The Clatsop County Planning Commission meeting on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 will come to order. Would staff please take the roll?
Commissioner Crashauer,
Present.
Commissioner Farrar. I see him. He might not be online yet, but he's here. Commissioner Orr,
Present.
Commissioner Kwong,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
I'm here.
Chair Gardner,
Present.
Commissioner Powers.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. I'd like to welcome the public. The Planning Commission is the official venue for public involvement in planning and community development for Clatsop County. We thank you for your interest and involvement and welcome your thoughts always via email or verbal public comments later in the meeting. We're going to have a general public comment period for things not on the agenda, or sorry, that are not public hearings. So that might be also the appropriate time to speak on anything Gearhart if we have people in the room for that. And then we're also going to have 4 public hearings, and each one will have separate public comment. Before we get started, I wanted to note that Joanna Lyons-Antley, who I think is on today, is departing, and I wanted to take the moment to thank her for all of her great work on behalf of the county and the Planning Commission more generally. So thank you, Councilor Lyons-Antley. Moving on to the agenda, I'll take a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Commissioner
Second.
Powers. Thank you. Commissioner Powers has moved and Commissioner Farrar has seconded. Any discussion?
I'd just like to apologize for getting on the meeting late. I had a little difficulty connecting.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrar. No problem. Okay, no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say no. The motion passes unanimously. Next, we'll do the business from the public. This is an opportunity for anyone to give a brief presentation about any land use planning issue or county concern that's not on the agenda with public comment. All speakers from the floor are to state their name and address before speaking. If you're appearing in a representative capacity, please identify who you represent. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak? Director Hendrickson, I just wanted to make sure I'm correct in assuming that we won't have public comment under the work session discussion of the Gearhart UGB expansion.
That would be the typical way that we would conduct business. However, it's really at the discretion of the Planning Commission.
Okay. I think if anyone wants to speak on that, this is the best time for that. So, but it sounds like we don't have anyone interested in speaking on that at this time or any other issues. So we'll go ahead and move on. So we're moving on to the work session. It looks like we have Scott Fregonese.
Yes, Fregonese.
Fregonese, okay, thank
Close
you.
enough.
From 3J Consulting to discuss an overview of the potential proposed City of Gearhart UGB urban growth boundary adjustment process.
Yeah, and Chad Sweet, the city administrator, is also on. I think I'm pretty much going to do the presentation today, but he may chime in with some additional information as I go through this. It's a pretty quick presentation. I just wanted to be able to share with you all, the effort that's going on. Hopefully we'll get to the point where we come back to you and have a public hearing where once we get to the approval from DLCD to do this UGB swap that we've been working on. So I will present, if I can share my screen now, I'll start the quick presentation. Hopefully everyone can see that. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here at the Planning Commission meeting today and share this with you. It's something that I've shared with both the city council at Gearhart as well as the planning commission. So this is a brief overview presentation of what we've been working on, and it gives you a little timeline. As I mentioned before, I'm hoping that we'll come back to you all once we get to the point where we will make some decisions about whether this will happen or not. So there's about 34 acres that the city wishes to swap for a portion of the urban growth boundary that's not buildable. So there's a large amount of the urban growth boundary that's west of the vegetative line, like on the coast, that will never really be developable. And there's about 34 acres, which is this map here, that's just north of the city limits and urban growth boundary that we're looking at with the goal of some new residential homes, as well as a new fire and police station. That's one of the biggest things that the city is really interested in, is building a new police and fire station that would be outside the tsunami inundation zone. Another part of this would be about a 5-acre park would be dedicated as part of this for the city. This is just a little air photo of it, but if you're familiar with the area, Highway 101 is right here, and then Highlands Road is the north part of where that UGB swap would be taking place. So if you're familiar with the Delray Beach access road there on Highlands, that's where that is. The police and fire station would be right about here. If you notice, this is the highest point, and I'll show you some of the mappings too, actually, in the city of Gearhart. That was why this site was selected, was because of its elevation. This map shows the proposed swap, and which is the green area. So you can see the current police and fire station are down here downtown. The proposal would be to move them up to this location here, with this green area being swapped for this purple area. So if you notice, this whole area is not buildable because it's, again, I mentioned this, but west of the vegetative line. So there's a large area that we would be proposing to remove from the urban growth boundary and swap for this green area here. This blue site, part of what we're required to do, DLCD wants us to take a look at alternative sites. So we can't just pick one site and say this is the best one. We have to, when we do our study, we have to take a look at different sites. And I'll get into why we didn't pick any other sites to the south or to the east, but there's a lot of geographical reasons why it's very difficult to expand in those areas. So anyway, we can go back to this map, but this is an important one because it shows the area proposed being brought in and the area being proposed to remove. So this is a little different than a traditional urban growth boundary expansion, where you would just say, we're going to expand this area and this is what we need to do. I recently did one in Rockaway Beach where we brought in 10 acres for critical facilities similar to this, where the idea would be to move police, fire, and public works out of the tsunami inundation zone. So it's something that a lot of coastal cities are looking at doing. One of the reasons, I mentioned this before, but you can see this little purple area is the high spot, which is actually where we're looking at placing that police and fire. Interestingly enough, on the Dagami map, it shows that it's within the double XL tsunami inundation scenario. However, the site was actually, we did a site survey, and it's about 64 feet, I believe, which is actually out of the XXL tsunami inundation zone. So it's the only site in the city that's out of that zone. When looking at where we could expand to put this, part of the issue is that there's a large continuous wetland, obviously this to the east, and then water and riparian areas to the south. So really, when looking at expansion areas, it was very difficult to hone in on anything other than looking at areas at the north boundary of the city limits and urban growth boundary. One kind of neat thing we did was we looked at access to the site, so that we wanted to make sure that if we did move these critical facilities, there would still be adequate access. So this is assuming a 5-minute drive from the police and fire station. So as you can see, there's almost better access to the area to the north when the proposed area. So part of this, we're looking at both traffic, environmental, public works in terms of being able to serve it with water. So there's a whole host of things that we need to look at when doing this type of proposal. A little bit of background, we've been working with the LCD and their regional reps because it's really important that the state, has buy-in on this. Obviously, the city will need to amend its comprehensive plan and zoning maps. The county would also have to do that. So I think that's one of the main reasons I'm here today, is that this is really a partnership between the city and the county, because the decision in the areas, both the county and the city would have to amend the UGB and also any of the comp plan amendments that would go along with that, because obviously the county would be taking the area that we were removing from the urban growth boundary, even though it's not developable. That would be then now county land. So both the city and the county will have to go through public hearings to accomplish this goal. Just a little more background. In September, the city entered into a contingent land transfer agreement with the property owner. So the idea would be that if this all works out, that the city would then be given that land for the police and fire station, as well as the park. Also, a preliminary geotech investigation has been conducted on the site, which is really important because that's got to be submitted as part of the packet, or I guess application, you would say, to the state when looking at doing something like this. This is a draft site plan. It's not obviously set in stone. This was something that was developed as part of the concept planning for the 34-acre site. All the green are residential lots. There's about 46, I believe, total. Some are not, it would probably likely be more difficult to build than others. For example, these over here, particularly because they're in riparian areas. That's what you're seeing here, is riparian areas that would not be buildable in the blue hash mark. The yellow site is the site for the police and fire station. Would be accessed directly through this right of way onto Highway 101. I think that's also really important because it's a direct access to the highway is really important for those critical facilities to get quick access in and out of the site. So this yellow site would be that 2.14 acres for the police and fire. This 2.4 acres and this light blue is what would be dedicated as the park. There's residential here already to the south. And there's no street connection through to that part of the residential. So all of this site would access from Highlands Road. Of course, this is subject to change, but I thought it would be interesting for you all to see at least kind of the beginning thoughts of what is planned for the area. So what we're working on now is we have to do a specific analysis to do a UGB expansion or swap. So it's the nice thing, it's slightly simplified because Gearhart's a smaller community and the parcel that's requested to be swapped is less than 50 acres. So it's an administrative decision at the staff level from PLCD. One thing that's important to note is the area of the swap has to be the same size or larger, which we made sure we did, about 34 acres, and it has to also have equivalent zoning. So the area that we're looking at doing the swap is both very similar in their residential zone as what would be the city's residential zone as well. So as part of that, we establish the study area. We have to prioritize candidate sites. That's why I mentioned we can't just look at one. We have to look at more than one. And then we have to choose a preferred site based on the goal 14 boundary location factors. And the product is an application for urban growth boundary swap. So this is what we're working on now. The goal is to submit this to the state this month so that we can start this process. If all goes well, then we will come back to you and to the city's planning commission and hopefully work through this process. So again, I said establish the study area boundary. We've done that as part of this effort. One of the things that was interesting is in 2009, there were statewide restrictions on locating critical facilities within the tsunami inundation zone. That has since been removed. But Gearhart has chosen a tsunami hazard overlay zone that they have in place, which actually is stricter than the state requirements. So it doesn't allow them to place any critical facilities within the tsunami hazard overlay. So the issue here is that there really is no other place if the city was to bring in critical facilities than this particular location. Again, why it was chosen. Of course, we'll work with the property owner, and the city will work with local and state federal agencies that we meet all environmental impacts. And then the process here is, we're working on this application for the overgrowth boundary. We're hoping to have the LCD review that again this month. We will look at this summer, working with you again to do public hearings concurrently with the city and county to do the UGB swap plus the comp plan amendments and the zone changes that would take place. Then hopefully late summer, maybe August into early September, we'd be looking at annexation and then development. So that's my quick presentation. I'm going to see if I can stop sharing my screen here. There we go. And hopefully that was interesting. You learned a little bit, and I'm open to any questions or thoughts or any conversations we had about it. I just wanted to introduce it to you so that when we do come back later, it's not a shock and you kind of know what we've been working on.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions? I don't hear or see. Oh, I saw Commissioner Farrar.
Yeah, I had a question. It may have been addressed and I just missed it. Your presentation packed quite a lot in a short period of time. I don't think I was really prepared for all that was involved, but I do appreciate it. And that was a good heads up for me to pay a little closer attention to what's going on here. My question is the swap of land, what becomes of the part you're swapping out of this urban growth boundary? I was unclear on what its status will be if this goes through.
So what would happen is the area that would be swapped would be brought into the UGB, would be brought into the city. The area that would be the other area, if you remember the map, I believe is the purple square, that would be now back in the county. So that would be county land. It would then revert back to that same county residential zoning. And then the zoning that would be brought in would be changed to the city zoning. So that's why it's with both the county and the city, well, and frankly, the state all have to be bought into this idea of doing the swap or it won't be successful. So basically what would happen is that would be, again, county land that would be residentially zoned as the zoning that it is currently.
Well, I'll just interject one kind of concluding thought about that. It seems like you're passing off a big responsibility onto the county to wind up with a piece of residential land that I would hate to see residences built upon. So you're kind of passing the buck to the county, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's actually the area that would be swapped would not be built because it's beyond the vegetative line. So there would be no further construction there. There are homes there already, but those homes would remain within the city limits. It's just a section of the land that's to the west of essentially a no build line would be then put on the county. So it would be county land, it would be the coast, would basically be beach.
I appreciate that. And as I say, I need to get up to speed on this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'd love to share some more detailed maps where we can zoom in and actually take a look at which parcels, and I will do that as we proceed. I think it is important to understand exactly how many parcels, where they're located, what the zoning is, so we can dig into that a little deeper for sure.
That'd be great. This might be a question actually for City Administrator Sweet. I understand that there's a funding for this on the current ballot. Ballots are due May 17th. I hope everyone's voted already. And so what happens if it succeeds, and what happens if it fails at this point?
Thank you, Commissioner Gardner, and my apologies. I'm actually at home today with a pretty good head cold, so if I have to pause for a moment, just bear with me. So yes, the ballot and the ballot question we've got on the 17th of May. And at that point, we will find out what the residents of Gearhart really want for themselves. This is kind of like putting the horse back in front of the cart. You know, we're really not sure that the state and the county would be so keen on helping with this swap if the residents of Gearhart are not willing to put some work and money towards the project. So once we go through the election process, we won't necessarily go out to bond until these questions are answered. We don't have to go out to bond until that happens. So we have lots of options, and we're trying not to apply any stress or pressure on anybody. But this is just a project we've been working on for some time. So I hope that answers your question, Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you. One thing that I'm unclear on is, well, a few things, but one is who is the developer of the homes? That's a pretty big new development on the outskirts of the city now. Is that something that the city is undertaking, or is that a partnership? How's that working?
So it's a partnership with the developer. So the developer actually owns the entire site currently. So that's why we have an agreement to be given that the parkland and the land for the police and fire. The homes would be part of a private development. So that would not be done as part of the city. The city would be receiving the land for free. So that's one of the benefits of the city supporting this project, is that we'd get the site and the park as part of the partnership with the private development. And I don't recall the name of the particular developer off the top of my head.
And what would be the density of that development? We've been speaking a lot about the lack of affordable workforce housing throughout the county, and that a lot of the new building has been big homes for 2 people, mostly vacation homes and short-term rentals versus homes for our residents to actually live in. Is there any opportunity to increase density and provide townhomes and other kind of lower price point housing in that development?
So at this point, the plan doesn't show townhomes. It shows single family homes only. The one thing that would be different is that the county zoning would be a 10,000 square foot lot minimum. If we bring it into the urban growth boundary, the city would be down to 5,000 square foot lots. So they would be smaller lots at 5,000 square feet each.
Actually, Scott, that's not quite right. This
really?
is Chad Sweet. Do you mind if I catch in here just real quick?
Please do, Chad.
The current county zoning is 2 acres per lot. And
Okay.
with density credits, the developers could get about 21 lots into that area right now. If they come into the city of Gearhart, it would be a 10,000 square foot lot, which is similar to the way that Gearhart was developed. It's less dense, but still more dense than the county zoning that's on there now.
And I would also say that, and Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but short-term rentals are not allowed in the city of Gearhart.
That's correct. These would be single family homes. And if they came into our urban growth boundary, we have our short-term vacation rental program that is actually slowly permits for renting out homes are slowly disappearing. And we are definitely becoming more residential in Gearhart, just piece by piece. There is another opportunity as well that the developers were talking about. It's actually a group of 3 or 4 developers that are all from the local area. There may be some space near the highway for some higher density homes as well, which is something that we're interested in because volunteers are having a hard time finding homes around our area. So we're also interested in that.
Thank you. I know the Cannon Beach Fire Protection District, which I'm under, living in Arch Cape, is building townhomes for their firefighters on their fire station property. I think they're going to apply for a 4-plex there specifically for that population, which I think is great.
That's a very cool idea.
Yeah, it's getting to be that. We really don't have very many firefighters that live east of Highway 101. So it's another reason that this project and the location of the fire department is looking pretty good to the city.
So you had said originally that there was gonna be a 5-acre park, but then you said it was gonna be 2.4 acres.
I was wrong. It was
Okay.
2.4.
Okay, and yeah,
Thank you for
and-
clarifying.
and it looks like that's kind of like a natural, when you talk about a park, you mean like a natural area park, not a developed park?
It hasn't really been determined yet. It could be either or. It's just a park land that the city could choose to do what they would like to do with.
We're also looking at providing a park in an area that there are no parks for the people that live on the east side of Highway 101 and that portion of Gearhart. So it's another benefit to kind of spreading things out a little bit to our residences.
Thank you. We received public comment from Beth Cameron, a written comment, and I just wanted to note it. It's for the planning commissioners. It's in all of our emails this morning, and it will be up on the website if it's not already today for the rest of the public. But she had expressed concern about the site, the project, and asked about, well, I'm going to ask you about her questions. So available drinking water. Let's start with that. Is there available drinking water for that development?
Scott, I can take a look at
Go
this
ahead,
one.
Jeff.
So the current infrastructure is that the city of Gearhart water infrastructure is on both sides of this lot. We actually have a water main that goes up Highlands Lane that feeds the Highlands neighborhood, backfills the Palisades. It does not go into Pinehurst and Surf Pines as a direct connection, but there is an emergency connection that we supply the city of Warrenton with our water pipes. So essentially, we've got water pipes all the way up Pine Ridge Drive that leads into the south part of this lot. And our water mains are on the north part of this lot as well. And we'd like to make a connection there. It's for resiliency. If we can create this loop by bringing these two pipes together, then we are able to handle Highway 101 water issues or water issues in other neighborhoods. We're able to isolate, and it's also for the health of our system. So in order to keep water flowing and for the taste to be good and for everything to be mixed well, you got to keep water flowing. So this will also provide a looped system to do that. So we've got the infrastructure on both sides, and Gearhart is limited in the amount of water that it can take. In the summertime, we are reduced down into a small amount of water that we can take from our aquifer. The reason for this is not that the aquifer necessarily couldn't handle it. It's quite a big aquifer that we pull from underneath about 165 feet down, and it's beautiful, clean water. But its relationship to where it's located next to the Neocoxie Creek, because it's in a certain amount of distance to the pumps, we have to cut down on the summertime, and that's when we rely on Warrenton. Warrenton's water system is actually behind Gearhart. We are the first customer of the Warrenton water system. So essentially, Gearhart is able to provide 75% of the water for the city of Gearhart, and Warrenton helps us out with 25%. We're working on putting together our water agreements with Warrenton, and then we're working on putting together water conservation plans. Gearhart over the last few years, because of our water conservation work, has been actually spending less and less water, although we don't anticipate that happening forever. So we still have to work out the deal with Warrenton, but we're going to be providing most of that water, and it does add for the resiliency. So I hope that answers your question.
I would just add that that's something that we are required to show as part of the application to the state, is having proper infrastructure for the proposed development. Also, we have to look at traffic impacts. So how many trips per day are generated. So there's a whole host of requirements that will be done as part of the application in the report to the state that actually will be, you will all see if we get to the point where we come to a public hearing to actually complete the swap.
Thank you. Ms. Cameron's other concerns were around the environment, and we've been speaking here about quite a lot about riparian and wetland protection as part of our comprehensive planning update. Does Gearhart have riparian and wetland setbacks that would protect Neocoxie Creek and associated wetlands at this site?
Yes, Commissioner Gardner, we do. We have a riparian area specifically for the Neocoxie Creek, and it is absolutely no structures within 50 feet of the mean mean high tide on that particular creek. So that would be put into place, and that's how we also protect the Neocoxie Creek within Gearhart.
Do you have like riparian vegetation protections as well, or just no structures?
No structures. You can remove vegetation if it's noxious, but it needs to be replaced with native vegetation. Tree trimming can be done for the health of the tree, but trees can't be removed. So there's a lot of protections on that to try to maintain those banks and that wetland area.
And I believe if it's not already been done, a wetland delineation would be required as part of this development process once we got down to that point. But I believe they've already looked at that based on the mapping I've seen.
Ms. Cameron also noted silver spot butterfly. I know there's been some restoration efforts, especially north of the site. Is there identified silver spot butterfly in this area?
I know they have something set aside in the neighborhood to the south in the Pine Ridge neighborhood. And they've got about maybe an acre and a half that's fenced off in his grassland. And its purpose is to invite the butterflies. I'm not sure, what they've seen for that, but it's one of the other reasons that, some kind of park to the north of this might actually be helpful rather than building houses back in that area. So it's a bit of a buffer zone depending on how we develop that park. But yes, there's some butterfly habitat back in there.
Thank you. Okay, this is my last one, I promise. She had also mentioned the carcinogenic compounds associated with firefighting, and I'll just give you my own experience with this. That I know that the fire, in training, which is incredibly important, there's like a lot of burning of cars and also the spraying of the foam. It's the training foam, but it is definitely a chemical foam. And I had the experience that our fire station is actually connected to the stormwater system, and that foam ended up on the beach, in our creek and on the beach. So, how are you going to make sure that, I don't know if you thought about this at all, but that the stormwater systems in the area that you're training your firefighters are not connected to the wetlands and creek, and that's properly retained? I know this is down the line, but this is my moment. So
no, thank you, Commissioner Gardner. That's a good point. And just, full disclosure, I've been on the Gearhart Fire Department for 25 years now. I hold a captain's rank there. We don't, you have to respect your environment. And part of the environment is that it's in a residential zone. Our intention is not to create a training center where you can burn, or we're setting up connexes, to do certain types of training. We do have to respect that this is in the middle of a residential area, and we want to be partners in that. Similar to the way we did our water treatment facility, try to get it to blend in as much as possible, part of the environment. So there's no intention on creating any kind of live fire props or work up there. Car fires, gas generators, those sorts of things that help us train. We usually do those in places that are with other fire departments and more appropriate for that kind of work. So I don't think there's any desire to do that. As far as the foams go, it's another reason that we're trying to work on this fire department, because cancers and all of those things are very important, and we're really taking it seriously these days. It's not just people who are smoke eaters. They're really concerned with that. So with this fire station, being clean, being able to, decontaminate ourselves, and, we don't like to use things that are carcinogenic. So the foam is not necessarily something that we would want to play around with as well. We would only use it as an emergency. So that's kind of the way we think about it.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns or interests of the commissioners? I'm sorry, Commissioner Kwong, I was dominating. I apologize. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Commissioner Quantin. I'm wondering what are your plans for sewer and water treatment for the facility? If that's, I guess if that's in an immediate plan, or is that a future plan?
No, thank you, Commissioner Kwan, for the question. Again, this is Chad Sweet with the city of Gearhart. The entire city of Gearhart and the area around it, we are septic. So all of our homes in Gearhart are septic. That's why one of the reasons we have the larger lots for less density is to be able to maintain that septic system. And there's no plans to go to sewer at this point, partially because we've learned that septic systems are also very resilient in major events, maybe an earthquake or tsunami, maybe, a large power outage and that sort of thing. So this site would also be septic, both for the homes and for the fire station. The fire station septic system would not be that large, as its needs are not huge, but hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Commissioner Powers, Crawshaw, anyone else wish to ask questions? This is your time. Otherwise, we'll move on.
I can provide the PowerPoint too, so that if you all want to take a closer look at that, I will get that to you all.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, both of you and others in the room on this issue. It's a really interesting one for us, and we'll see what happens on May 17th.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, have a great morning.
Thank you for your time.
You as well.